Hi everyone, it's me again, Makeda Voletta, also known as the Body Scientist and Queen Lioness and the Renaissance Amazon. Um, in case you don't know me, I am a personal trainer, a sports scientist, a nutritionist, and a dancer. Um, and this video today is about the lovely world of pole dancing, but I will be focusing on the different types of pole dancing and basically um, sexy pole dancing versus what some people call athletic pole dancing. But I like to categorize them as pole dancing as a sport and pole dancing as an art. Okay, um, and also be discussing the difference between like the pole dance world versus strippers. Okay, now most of you are probably aware that pole dancing has become a big fitness craze, okay, all around the world, not just in America, but in Australia, in New Zealand, in Asia, in South America, in Colombia, in Peru, um, European countries. It's become this big thing, and I could be wrong with some of the things that I'm going to say. If I am, please feel free to correct me or send me the correct information because I am a researcher. I'm about being accurate. But it is my understanding that pole dancing became, this big fitness craze because of strippers. I remember, 15 years ago, it wasn't cool to be a stripper, and women used to look down on them, and just saying the word stripper. If a woman was a stripper, it was like they would never stop talking about it. Like Eve or Amber Rose or anybody who stripped. They keep bringing that up as if the person murdered someone. Like it taints them for their life or something. So, and me myself, I had been to strip clubs years ago, and I admired what I saw. I know now that I hear from my guy friends who frequent strip clubs a lot that not all strippers do crazy tricks. But the strip clubs I went to, and it was only a few, like I'd go to one in New York, I had gone to one in Miami, one in New Orleans. But the strip clubs I went to, I did see the women doing crazy tricks. And I went to black strip clubs. And I remember thinking, like, do they used to do gymnastics or some shit, I remember asking a couple of strippers that, and they told me no, and they looked like had the body of gymnasts, and they were all self-taught. So when I'm seeing girls, falling upside down head first, dropping, freaking 20 feet, and stopping right before they get to the ground, I had nothing but respect for them because number one, I knew that was hard as shit. I mean, now that I have begun my pole dance journey, I can tell you it's harder than it looks, but it already looks hard to me. And I had respect for them because, it's like what I saw was women who were in control, women who were empowered. When I went into this one strip club I went to in New York, I remember seeing dudes just like stuck on stupid, looking at a girl's ass like that shit might have made his week. It might have been what prevented him from punching somebody this week. And I would see the girl just laughing and, jiggling her booty cheeks, and it was just like fun to her. So I remember looking at it and thinking, I don't understand why people always act like, strippers are being exploited and like they are being abused when there are women who look like they're having fun and choose to do that. So there's many different perspectives. However, I know now that not all strip clubs are like the places that I went to. Learning more about the business side of it, I don't agree with the business side of it, that strippers have to pay clubs to come to work and tip everybody. That I couldn't get down with. That and having people throwing money at me because that's like if you got your paycheck and, you got your paycheck in ones and your boss threw it at you and you had to run around the street picking it up, hoping that you pick it all up because other people could pick up your shit. Everybody that's working wants all of their money. No, you don't want other people to take some of your shit, and that can happen in strip clubs. So that whole thing is what I'm not in agreement with and not down for. But in terms of the artistry of what the women were doing, how they interacted with their audience, like if somebody gave them $1 or gave them money, how they would then interact with that person, or even doing lap dances, which is not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to, be all up on someone and giving them eye contact and acting like you give a fuck. Because honestly, sometimes women, you're dancing for men that you don't find attractive. They might be annoying or weird, or um, and so it takes a talent. It's a talent and a skill, and to get people wrapped up in that. And also, I have respect for them because it's something that so many people in society look down on, and they were doing it with pride and coming in there. So I've always had respect for strippers. I've always wanted to have them as clients, and always been in their defense. Although I've never been a stripper, I have been a go-go dancer. So I've been booked for events to like dance up on a platform naked or half naked, where people could see me, but I didn't have to interact with them. I got paid a flat rate, so that somebody might tell me, okay, we'll pay $100 to come dance for an hour, and I'm just dancing up on a platform, and I don't have to talk to anyone, interact with anyone. They can't touch me. They're not tipping me. I just know that I'm making this certain amount of money for this time, and I have no problem with that. But the whole interacting with people, looking at them and talking to them is something that I felt like, number one, I was way too shy to do. Number two, I don't really feel like it because that can be very antisocial. And I'm not motivated by somebody giving me singles. Like, singles doesn't motivate me to do shit. So I need to know up front that I'm making this much money. Strippers, they don't know, and I don't feel tipping people and stuff like that. But the one thing I do know is that being a trainer over the past 15 years, it's extremely hard to get people to commit to a really intense, hard workout for years, let alone women. And women seem to always want to be cute when they work out. Women spend more money on fitness clothes. If we look at women in the gym when we work out, we usually match with these cute outfits. Men can care less what the fuck they wear. They don't be matched up. Women, we get cute. And a lot of women want to work out, only want to do sexy workouts. So, like, for example, working out stilettos is a big deal now, and I think that's an awful idea. Unless you're Beyonce and you're going on tour, dancing on stage in stilettos, it's a badass idea to be working out in stilettos because that shit can really damage you over time, and you're not working your muscles to the full extent when you have heels on. And I'm not going to get too much in depth about this in this video. I'll do another video on stiletto workouts, but it can be very damaging, to make a long story short, to your knees, to your wombs, to your ankle. And when you're young, it may not seem like a big deal, but when you start getting older and your knees are all fucked up and your ankles are messed up and you can't jog out like it's hot, you can't walk up the stairs, then it's a problem. And so for me, my approach to fitness, I think about long term. I'm not thinking about doing stuff that makes me cute now that's going to make me not cute in the future. You got to think about the long term. And I don't believe in giving people workouts that are going to be destructive to them. If you're somebody that's like a Beyonce or a showgirl that is performing in heels, it is good to do workouts in heels sometimes, but a certain type of workout that's specific to your performing, because they do need to have the endurance in the heels. But should they go do squats with weights with heels on? No, they shouldn't. And that's where sports science and biomechanics comes into play. I'm not going to talk about that. But my point is, a lot of women really want to be sexy, and that's what makes them want to work out. So in the pole world, I got into pole dancing for two reasons. One, because it was, a serious physical challenge that was different than anything I had ever done before. And as a trainer, as a fitness professional, it's important to always challenge ourselves. Everything I've done has involved leg strength, not so much upper body. And the second reason is because I really believe in, not being ashamed of sexuality, and women, being comfortable in our sexuality. I am kind of shy. A lot of people who don't know me don't believe that, but anybody who knows me can tell you, yes, I'm more shy than you would think. And I'm used to performing with a dance company, but when all eyes are on me, I actually don't like being in the spotlight. Like they say, Leos love being in the spotlight. It actually makes me pretty nervous, but I know that I have to do what I have to do, right? So dancing by myself really freaks me out because I feel everybody's energy staring at me. And if you feel like there's nowhere you can hide, kind of the situation. So I also got into pole dancing to step out of my shell and to be more comfortable in my skin and being sexy and all of that, and that sensual movement. I teach a class called Sensual Strength Training, which most people probably know about, and I felt like pole dancing is just that. It's a part of sensual strength training, what I teach and what I want to embody. I respect the sexy side of pole dance. I actually like it better. So in the pole world, this weekend I was at an international pole convention in New Orleans, and there was a talk on sex workers and the pole dance community. And the talk was decent, but the woman who gave it, I feel like it was very lightweight, and she left a lot of things out. And also, like, the way she categorized stuff, right? She categorized the pole dancing in three categories. She said exotic pole dancing, she said athletic pole dancing, and she said contemporary pole dancing. Now, those three statements don't make sense to me, because sexy pole dancing is athletic. If you see what strippers do, at least black strippers, I don't know what white strippers used to do. I know white strippers do tricks now, but before this was in pole classes, it was always my understanding that white strippers didn't do all those crazy tricks. I think, and from what I know, all the crazy tricks and drops and stuff came from black strippers. And they were all self-taught. There were no classes. How the fuck they taught themselves how to do that, I have no idea. But it's just like in the 70s, when the height of breaking in New York, those kids that started spinning on their heads, they didn't have any gymnastics classes or tumbling classes or yoga classes when they started doing that. You know, you go to Jamaican dance hall dancers get in headstands and wind, and they didn't take any yoga classes or any acrobatic classes, you know. So they're self-taught, which is even more impressive. I'm even more impressed by that than people who've had instructors who can now break it down. Now in the world of pole dancing, there's a lot of qualified instructors. They're great teachers. They really break it down, make sure that you don't hurt yourself. But strippers, they're teaching themselves, so they get more props from me for that. Okay, but with that being said, those who do sexy pole dancing also do very athletic type moves. So sexy pole dancing is athletic to me, right? And then to athletic, so-called, can be sexy. Because there are people who get turned on by seeing women play volleyball or run track or go lift weights, and those women may not they may not be trying to be sexy. They're just playing a sport, but that is sexy to people who like strong athletic women. So, I mean, and then the contemporary thing, it's all contemporary. You know, what does contemporary mean? Like, does it mean that, like, the sexy pole dance is from 100 years ago? No, that's also contemporary, you know. Athletic pole dancing is also contemporary. So those categories make no sense to me. The way I would categorize the pole dancing world now is like pole dance as an art, pole as an art, and then pole as a sport. As a sport, it's different. It's almost like taking a gymnast and putting them on a pole. Gymnasts do splits and open their legs and do that thing, but it doesn't look sexual. Even though somebody could get turned on, because people can get turned on by anything. People can get turned on by a woman in a raincoat smoking a cigarette. I mean, anything. But gymnasts, the way they move, gymnasts don't move like dancers. Even rhythmic gymnasts, they don't move like dancers. They move like gymnasts. It looks different. And so I think that the athletic, or no, let me not say athletic, what she calls athletic, what I call pole is a sport, pole sport and pole dance. The pole sport, it's like taking a gymnast and putting them on a pole. So they're doing all these complicated tricks. They don't look like dancers, they look like gymnasts. A lot of times they have the body of gymnasts. They're short, they're stocky, broad shoulders, not too hippie, not too, the asses are not too huge, okay? Like a gymnast body. And so they're trying to make pole dancing into an Olympic sport. Now, on that, and with that being said, yes, it's going to be more like that. So there are organizations that do competitions for the sport of pole, and there are many people who complain about it, their rules. And at first, I wasn't crazy about their rules, but I also know that I'm not crazy about sports with judges, period. Because it's all about pleasing the judges, and it's very biased. So I'm not really a fan of judged sports, but there's an organization called the PSO, the Pole Sport Organization, and they have a rule that you can't have your gluteal folds showing in your costumes. Now, to a lot of people, that's ridiculous. I mean, to me, that is a bit ridiculous, because no matter what shorts I put on, my gluteal fold is going to come out eventually, especially if I'm flipping upside down and doing stuff like that. But their whole thing is they don't want it to be too sexy. And that's because they're about the sport. And they do deduct points for costumes that are too sexy or not, that don't fit in their guidelines. Or even maybe the moves are too sexy. I don't know. They deduct points. I've heard that. And some people get upset by that. But the thing is that, if it's pole as a sport, it's going to have that. Because in the world of gymnastics, in the world of figure skating, in synchronized swimming, they all get judged in their costumes too. If you're a figure skater and you get up in there with some rags and stuff, you will lose points for your costume. So there are costume rules in those sports as well. And those sports are also sports with judges, and it's like pretty girl sports, where you have to have pretty outfits and stuff like that. So putting that into context, it's normal and okay that the pole sport organization has rules about that, because as a sport, that's what happens. That doesn't happen in basketball or track and field or volleyball. Swimming, swimmers, track athletes, volleyball players all have on skimpy outfits. Their gluteal folds might be out, but those are sports that are not judge sports. They don't have a panel of judges either. So they don't lose points for costumes. But when you have those type of sports, that matters. So I don't judge that. But when you have pole dance as an art form, then that's different. And I like the dance art sensual sexual side more. There are people doing, I guess what she meant by contemporary pole is there are people who are doing really like kind of weird modern dance pieces and sometimes ballet pieces. I'm not really a huge fan of that myself, but there's many different aspects of pole. There's also the kids in the subway in New York that flip off the walls, and if you've never seen the kids in New York, you need to go on YouTube and Google like subway pole dancing. These kids are the most amazing. Okay, there are lots of male pole dancers. I watched many of them this weekend at the International Pole Convention, and there was a couple who really caught my eye who were really amazing, but a lot of the stuff they did, it doesn't even compare to the stuff that these kids do on the train. And these kids never had any lessons of any sort, and they do it when the train is moving. And they do complicated stuff at a super fast speed. It's really quite impressive. So I like that style too. So there's many different things that can be done with a pole in terms of dances and tricks and their approach to it. But this idea that the sexy side is so bad, and like I hear a lot of women in pole classes almost like talk about strippers, that they look down on them like, oh no, I'm not a stripper. I remember one time being at a pole studio in New York, and these two women, we were waiting to go into class, and these two women were waiting to go in, and they were talking about how like their families always asking them, are you a stripper, and trying to understand it. And they were just like, oh yeah, like, just kind of talking down about strippers, talking as if they're better. But then we come in class, and the second these women had a chance to put on these 6-inch heels, they did. And every time we had a break, a 2-second break, where the teacher wasn't paying attention, they'd be putting in their little sexy moves that nobody even asked them to put in. So I'm like, it's funny, like people want to act like, you want to dissociate yourself from strippers so much, but then every chance you get, you're trying to act like one. You're trying to be just like that. You're trying to be sexy. You want to be sexy like that. So what I see is that a lot of women idolize strippers, but they try to act like they look down on them, but then they want to be like them. As soon as it became okay, as soon as pole dancing became okay and legitimized by the fitness industry, flocks of women run to it, and they want to dance and show up their skills and be sexy and take twerk classes, but then they want to deny history and where it really comes from. Because people can talk about Chinese pole and pole in India, but honestly, that shit has nothing to do with why pole dancing has become so big, and it has nothing to do with the pole dancing that most people do in America, especially women, where it's more of the sexy side. The Indian style pole dancing, which you can also find on YouTube, I'm not a fan of that. It's not graceful. They just flop all over the pole. It's not entertaining to me. It looks sloppy. Like the kids in New York that flip off the walls in the poles, I'd rather watch them than watch those Indian dudes. And you can YouTube everything I'm saying and see. I mean, it's a matter of opinion, but I'm not a fan of that Indian pole stuff. And it doesn't look anything like what people are doing in pole. They don't circle the pole. They don't, do any spins. They just flip up and down like crazy in a very ungraceful way. So to me, bringing up Indian pole is like irrelevant, and it's something that people use to just get away from that sexual, sexy shame, which is ridiculous because we all came from sex. None of us would be here if our parents didn't have sex. We all have sex. If you're not having sex, then you have a sad life because we're sexual beings, and that's, it's fine and healthy. And when you get that out of your mind, that sex is this dirty thing, which so many people carry with them, mostly because of religion, and I'm thankful I wasn't raised religious because I don't carry all that sexual guilt that so many people have. When you release all that bullshit and realize that we're sexual beings, that we all have sex, we all come from sex, there's nothing wrong with being sexy. This is adults. It's not like you got 10-year-olds. I don't agree that 10 and 12 and 13-year-olds should be doing that. But if you're grown, you're fucking grown, And it's adult entertainment. And yes, what's wrong with sexy, To me, I can see pole dancing as a great empowerment tool for women. There are a lot of male pole dancers now. And at first, I wasn't that crazy about male pole dancers because I just felt like, can women have anything, to ourselves? I mean, most of the male pole dancers, if not all, but at least most of them, probably 90% or more, are not straight. It's kind of like if you go into the ballet world or modern dance world, most of the men, if not all, are not straight. And so if you're a woman and you're a dancer, you've always known gay men. If you're a hip-hop dancer, whatever, gay men are in the dance world. But I kind of felt like, damn, like women, if we want to be models, if we want to be makeup artists, we always have to share it with gay men. And I'm not homophobic at all. I'm a sacred educator. I have gay friends. I'm half that way myself. So it's not that, but it's just that gay men sometimes I feel like they have to teach women how to be women, and they want to outdo us. And I was in some pole classes where I felt like the men were doing that. And I just felt like, can women have anything for ourselves? It's not because I felt like the dude was like a threat or I felt unsafe, like some women say. It wasn't that. It was just like, damn, But I've grown to, and I just like seeing women more on the pole. Unless it's the dudes in New York flipping off the pole. That sexy side of pole, I enjoy women more, generally speaking. But I have recently seen some male pole dancers who really entertain me. Two of them were in my last body art show that I did in Harlem last week. A dancer named Jungle Cat and one named Tarzan. They're both dope, both really entertaining, both from the South, both black. And that's the first time I really saw black men. And I realized maybe that's the difference because it was like their style was very entertaining to me. And then this weekend at the International Pole Convention, there was another black pole dancer. I think they said his name was Apollo. He was tall and skinny with long locks, 6-inch heels, and he killed it. Like, he was just dope, period, male or female. And sexuality is so broad and fluid. And, there are women who love watching, men. And when men are dancing in a sexy way, they may love it because it's just entertaining. They may love it because it turns them on. It may turn on other men. It may not, whatever. But I'm very open-minded about sexuality. And I don't believe in, shunning or being like, ooh, because there's a dude on the pole. I just, in general, all my life, have always enjoyed watching women do everything more than men. Like, I like watching female basketball players. I like watching female tennis players. I can't watch men play tennis. I can't watch men play volleyball. It's like boring as hell to me. So I've always been someone who liked watching women do sports and dance more anyway. So that's kind of, I just think, women just has a more beautiful figure. So I've kind of been that way. But the other issue that came up was, at the conference, the woman who gave the talk, there are people who talk about, there are strippers, I've talked to strippers who, it's like they themselves seem a little bit ashamed and not fully comfortable with what they're doing. And that kind of defeats the purpose. Like, to me, there should be no shame in being a stripper. Some people want to act like all strippers are drug addicts, which is crazy. Yeah, there's some drug addict strippers, but there's drug addicts that work on Wall Street. There's drug addict doctors. There's drug addict nurses. There's people in every profession that have a drug problem. There are people in every profession that have daddy problems or mommy problems or were sexually abused. So when people try to put that all on the strippers, they must have been abused. They must have not had a dad. They must have this. That's true of most people, period. No matter what their job is, A lot of strippers are highly intelligent. They're not all stupid like people think. And they're people, and it's a job. And make love, not war. It's better than selling drugs and crack. For some reason, drug dealers get idolized and gangsters get idolized, but the shippers are the worst people ever. And the kind of money that freaking pastors, these male pastors, get in these black churches, or probably white ones too, I don't know. I didn't grow up in the church, but I know black churches, they be driving all these fancy cars and all this blinged out jewelry. For fucking what? You know what I'm saying? But then, and then drug dealers too. Strippers, they don't ever get the kind of money that these male preachers and that these gangsters and drug dealers get. But whatever money they get, when the ones who do make a lot of money, which is nothing compared to making a lot of money as a drug dealer, they are demonized, and a lot of them are trying to feed their kids and survive. And I don't see the problem with it at all. My only issue is the business side. I feel like the strippers, like people only come to the strip club because of the strippers. They're not coming there because of the damn bouncer, because of the DJ. Yes, a dope DJ is great, but the women look good. Even if the DJ's kind of whack, people will still come. So why the strippers are tipping everybody, why they're paying to come to the club, that's exploitation to me, and that's something that I could never get down with. That's like almost like having a pimp to me. I feel like if strippers, organized and, came together, which is a hard thing to do, and said, you know what, fuck that, we're not going to go to the strip club for a week until, we want to be paid a wage to come there. We don't want to be tipping everybody, and they all did that and shut shit down, they would get that. Because strippers have a lot of power. But a lot of it they're giving up to these clubs, and it's a complicated situation. And the only way to change that would be solidarity of everybody coming together and boycotting it. But that's hard because people got bills to pay in the meantime, and then there are other girls who may not give a damn about that and go anyway. So that only works when everybody's like on the same page for real. But I find it interesting too that like now a lot of studios have twerk classes and. Black people have been shaking their asses. That's not anything new, and not just twerking. Twerking is one way of shaking your ass. There's lots of ways. And now all of a sudden it's been validated because white people are okay with it and put, twerk classes everywhere. And, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense. And that's twerking and ass shaking is definitely sexual. And it doesn't make sense to me that people want to deny that so much, but then they want to take twerk classes. And it's like, let's be real. And let's not ignore what's obviously sexual. The overtly sexual, I can't stand when people want to ignore that and just overlook that. And if you look at more of my videos, you'll see I talk about sexuality a lot. I am a sacred sexual educator. I don't believe in people being ashamed of sexual practices. If you're grown, as long as you're not messing with kids or raping anyone or having sex with animals, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? And I've talked for a long time. I'm trying to think if there's any other things that I wanted to touch on. But yes, if anybody knows if white strippers were doing this or Asian strippers were doing all these crazy tricks 20 years ago, please put me on, let me know. Send me some videos because I'm researching that. And it was always my thought that it was black strippers that did that. So to me, even the double stuff where you see dancers like, laying on the pole straight and you got another one standing on top of her. Black strippers been doing that for a long time. Those are the only ones I knew that did that. Now, if somebody else was doing that 20 years ago, please let me know because I don't like to spread wrong information. I like to be on point with my research. But to me, it's another example, too, of what's happened in America with black dance where, we're doing something and the white people start doing it and it's not validated until they do it. And a lot of times they're doing a watered-down version of it, and then they put the ballet aesthetic in it so much. I was looking at some videos last night of some black Lindy hoppers and, black jazz dancers, and the way that they do splits and kick their legs up, it's not with a pointed toe and these super straight legs. They drop into these half splits, their feet are flexed, their knees are slightly bent when they kick their legs up. And that's the aesthetic of African dance and the black dance aesthetic. I have a video about that. You look at black strippers, they attack the pole. They don't necessarily do this like ballet type technique, which is now being taught and stressed. And ballet is cool, and the ballet technique is cool, but I don't like when people try to constantly put ballet on this pedestal higher than the black dance aesthetic of keeping your butt out, shaking your ass, having your feet flexed. Not, what I'm saying? Like, that's always valued more, and that bothers me too. And I think credit needs to be given what credit is due. Just like breaking came from some black kids, some Puerto Rican kids in the streets in New York where they were spinning in their head, didn't have any classes, and now it's all around the world. You got Asians, you got white people, everybody doing it. Now you got people teaching it. That's the same thing with pole dancing. To my knowledge, I think that black strippers created all these crazy tricks, and it's just I've always wondered how strippers feel. How do strippers feel about pole dancing becoming this huge craze now? I've always wanted to ask strippers that. So if there are any strippers that are watching this video and you want to share any of your comments or experiences, opinions on it, please feel free to write something. And so for now, I'm going to stop babbling because it's a 30-minute video and I have no idea how the hell I was talking for 30 minutes. But hopefully this video was useful to someone. And if you like it, please share it. Please write comments. Please join my YouTube page. And please check out my other videos. Okay, people. Thank you. Bye-bye.